It is the Friday night Neil Atkinson in Nova Scotia, a little earlier for you, a bit more Friday lunchtime than Friday night if we were splitting hairs. I've got Dan Morgan, I've got Rob Gutmann, and we have got our Erdinger, and we're very, very pleased to be here to settle all the way through. And Dan, we're halfway through. In fact, no, I'm going to say we're a quarter of the way through a massive 4 games. I think we've got game 1 out of the way, and it couldn't have gone any better. I think that's the best starting point is that Madrid game. Every single aspect of it, really. Every player who wants to get confidence pretty much got confidence. And in the round, Liverpool were much better than Real Madrid.
Yeah, what a statement that is, eh?
Yeah, much better.
Well, we've had to suffer over the
percentages before Dan starts. A quarter. Yeah. We're 2/5 of the way through a 5-game epic.
I'm just gonna cut it from Madrid. I'm gonna say Madrid was leg 1. I'll take you Southampton points, but I'm gonna say Madrid's leg 1. Okay. Then it's the 3 that follow on Sunday, Wednesday, Saturday.
I just don't want the Blues included, if truth be told. I'd rather include Southampton.
We're going to include the Blues because it's an enormous emotional occasion for all of us. Go on.
Goodison is a vortex, as we all know, and will forever be. So even when it's gone,
yeah, I'll still be there.
We'll still be pondering whether or not we can come out of it alive. Yeah. No, listen, Wednesday was a privilege. I think it got said on a show. It was a privilege to be in the ground. It really was. All of the suffering that we've had to endure at the hands of Real Madrid under Jurgen, I don't feel like that ebbed away the other night, but I did feel some vindication going all the way back to 2014, really, and just the entire sense of self-grandiose that comes with Real Madrid when they turn up, just being dismissed out of hand throughout the night was really pleasing. And again, I think it pulls you back to this sense of what you expected from Liverpool at the start of the season, which could have been anything really, to what we're getting now, which is, the stuff of dreams, and long may it continue.
Have you seen the video of the Bradley challenge from the angle where you can see Canate celebrate it?
No, but I had a thought that Canate celebrated it when the camera cuts away on a normal angle.
So when Bradley goes through, Canate's running back, and as the crowd gets up, Canate goes like that. Yeah, it's his international teammate, and they supposedly had murdered him at the captaincy, and he was very on top of himself, Canate, all game, but Canate literally punches the air as he goes through him, and it's like, oh hello, we're bang into this.
I was on the ensuing days, the sort of like the vainglorious celebrations of every aspect of that thing. The other thing that's actually as good as the Bradley tackle, and did get quite the cheer in the ground at the time, although not as much as when Salah nicks it off Mbappe, the hapless Mbappe.
First 5 minutes,
it's so fun. And when you watch it back, you go, they were both playing. It's like a game at 2 separate speeds. Mbappe's he's jinked inside. He's had a little look. He's still thinking about what he's got to do. He's got all the time in the world. And Salah suddenly goes do and just takes it off him. And suddenly they're running at double. It's like a film half the film at double speed. It's insane. I mean, what Núñez goes on to do is ridiculous, by the way, and really unlucky.
Anfield loves the corroboration of "not tonight, dickhead."
Oh yeah.
It feels it and it wants it, but the minute it actually happens, it could be something as subtle as the Salah and Mbappe thing, or it could be Andy Robertson lashing Lionel Messi's head.
Yes.
But it absolutely loves it. I just love the idea that somewhere in the ether, Ibrahim Konate really despises Thierry Henry.
Yeah,
what he's done to Ireland.
Doesn't even know why. Yeah, it's somewhere in the back of his mind. I think there's something just on that. I think carving this furrow out. I think a lot of what Klopp had to do to get Liverpool up the mountain was a lot of it was underdog stuff.
Yeah.
And then I think there's a period, and I think that period does exist, and the other side of once you're European champions, for God's sake, that ebbed away to an extent, and then I think it comes back for the 21-22 season because of what's happened the season before, and then it begins to ebb away by the end of that campaign. But then the next season happens, and then last season we were back to being Klopp's underdogs again. I don't think my point here about this is if people want to say, "Oh, Klopp just wanted to play the underdog," I think that's wrong, because I think it does ebb and flow as it goes through. But what I do think we need to find a way, almost a word for, is to plough the furrow. And the thing that your thing there about Anfield with the "not tonight, dickhead" aspect is there's an assurance about it and a certainty about it, a chest outness about it, but there's also a little bit of, you think you're better than us and we're going to show you at the same time. So I don't think we're overdogs or underdogs in this. We're just sort of dogs. But what's the word for it? I'm not quite sure what it is, but I just like the idea of dogs, because that describes it.
Maybe a four.
It's encapsulated in one of the most classic of our songs, like "We Shall Not Be Moved." Like, we shall not be moved. Honestly, that I was there, in the 80s when we weren't fucking underdogs. but there was always some sort of peril. So, I mean, there were some serious things that went against us, but there was the 81-82 was the one where we were something like 6th or 7th on Christmas Day, and we could win 21 out of 23 to win the league.
Yeah.
So it felt we always had comebacks.
When Sinstad says the party's over, is that season when Sinstad says the party's over? Yeah.
Yeah, so there was a lot of that. Maybe in their own way, City can contrive those stories too.
Yeah.
The kid, maybe it's delusional, but it's not about playing underdogs. It's about saying, don't ever doubt us. Don't ever doubt us, because we are super. In fact, it's something else. Is we are always the overdogs, but you don't know it. I think that's what our message. No, broadly, I think
I'm fine with that.
That's our DNA, right? We are always the best. We just may not be showing it right now, but we are coming for you. I think that's what we're about.
Well,
I think Klopp got that. Sorry, he did say in that, like, as the team was aging, he got this bit wrong. He goes, "We can be like Federer," right? He was implying like this team can grow old, we can get better. So I don't think he wanted to play siege mentality. We have to come from the back, from behind. I think it was more complex than that.
I think it was more complex than that, but I think that right now, and I think it's one of the things that the change of manager has offered, in that I think he's come in really clear-eyed in terms of the way he sees the players, the way he sees what the job is. The job is to win. He's not messed about on that score. The way he's assessed the club, assessed the individuals, the way he's spoken to those individuals, the way he's thrown the gauntlet down, and Real Madrid just felt like another one of them. Rob, where he's gone, these are Real Madrid. This is what they think. This is what they think they are. Show them what you are. I'd love to know what was said genuinely in that half time, because they come out second half, they've been better than Madrid first half, but second half they come out like they know they're better than Madrid from minute one.
Yeah, it's interesting to look at his personality as we get to know him. He's sort of the ultimate rationalist in football, and not in a way that sort of almost goes, I am above emotion. He's not above it. You can see its purpose, he can harness it, just as much as it was doing Klopp a disservice to see him as purely emotional.
Yeah.
Far from that. He's also an incredibly rational, thoughtful, intelligent man, obviously. But Slot seems to be obviously on a different level, but he really seems able to clear away the background noise.
Right.
And I'm hoping, I don't want to tempt fate, that will serve our purpose in the derby. I'm really hoping that will serve our purpose. I'm prepared to be, I'm prepared to have egg on my face on that, but I think it will. And in a sense, maybe Real Madrid too. Maybe in a certain sense, Real Madrid and Everton are closer than you think.
Well, in my mind, I actually think clearing out the noise with the City game, to come on to that, because there's so much noise around them at the minute. We're going to do that in a minute, but we can just start now if you want. Liverpool play that second half against Real Madrid, look that good. City have what they go through against Feyenoord, but one of the key things that Slot will be reminding everyone of is, in order to lose a 3-goal lead, you've got to get a 3-goal lead, and City did manage to go and do that. And the reason why Guardiola makes the subs he makes on 68 is he thinks this is done and dusted. Not rightly, it ought to have been.
Yeah, it ought to have been. History should tell you that it should have been. Just back to the point before, what I think's a little bit underplayed is it feels like there's been a couple, well there has been a couple, but it feels like there's been more occasions this season where we've had chunks of games either at home or away consecutively.
Yeah.
So the sort of Brighton into Villa element recently, this week particularly.
Brighton, Leverkusen, Villa,
Leverkusen, Villa this week is another one, and then we'll have a similar thing adverse next week when it's Newcastle Everton away, and we'll know we'll be up against it in that sense. I think Jurgen's greatest gift was giving us the sense of who we are and what our role is and what our responsibility is. And I do think as a collective we do take on that responsibility when we're all looking at the fixtures saying, right, we know we've got 2-3 homes on the bounce here, we know it's a Saturday night, for example, or we know it's a Sunday afternoon, we know who's coming, we know what our role is here, we know how we can impact it.
He managed us as the 12th, genuinely as the 12th man, didn't he?
Yeah, definitely he did, but I think what's commendable from an organisational perspective is that they've not done anything dramatic to shift that. And you can think about how managers play strategically, tactically, as not being relevant to that conversation, but it would be. If we had to bring a manager in who's now managing Manchester United, for example, and we had to absolutely change the structure of how we play, not just from senior level down to academy level, and bring in new staff like we've had to, and just change the entire ethos of who we are and what we do as a crowd and how we react as a crowd, then I think that it would have taken a lot longer. And I think Liverpool are just getting things right. In terms of Sunday, you're right, to lose a 3-0 lead, you've got to get one in the first place. and no one should be under any illusions of how dangerous they can still be. But I think that sense of togetherness will be there, and you can't deny that Anfield is an advantage. Yeah. Being at home is an advantage, and we know our role, and that's the greatest gift.
The best thing about Wednesday in the run is we all know first and foremost there's the general Salah stuff and Salah noise going on at the minute, Rob. What I like is he misses the penalty and his teammates dig him out. You know, I don't even think he's particularly going to post the missing of the penalty. I was a bit like trying not to give it to him for a minute or two, if you don't mind. He was trying to overcompensate because he's Mo Salah, he wants the responsibility. Yeah. But it's fine. Another lad steps up and scores a goal. Liverpool in the round are brilliant. Curtis Jones is running the show. You know, Mo Salah got to basically make a bit of a mistake in a massive game. And I think this might be the first time I've referred to it on the show. But I'm referring to it as a massive positive. His teammates dug him out, and in the way he's dug so many of them out in the past, it's great to see, and it shows in terms of the blocking out the noise. Liverpool just got on with the job.
Yeah, it's a fascinating little sideshow, the contract thing. If you look at it from a distance, it matters hugely, and yet it doesn't matter at all. Because in the context of what we've achieved this season thus far, 17 wins out of 19. And I said this on a show I did with John yesterday. But everyone wants to say this is not a solid start. It's a body of work now. It was 19 games.
Yeah,
it's like half a season.
Yeah.
Right? It is. So we've achieved this whilst having this backdrop if we hadn't won 17 out of 19, I think we won 8 out of 19, right? Whatever, something disappointing, this would be one motherfucker of a sideshow, wouldn't it? It would have been everything. It would have been the first, last, and always. The manager would have said, I don't want to blame it on the contracts, but obviously, slight dig to the owners, please get it sorted, because it's making my life a nightmare. And why hasn't it been a side? Why hasn't it actually knocked on to the pitch is an interesting question, and it's not easy to answer. Yeah, you could say because Salah, the 3 individuals in question have been wonderfully professional and are the elite players they are because they are wonderful professionals, and they can do 2 things at once. They can hold 2 thoughts in their head at once, right? I need to do my utmost to win everything for Liverpool FC this season, but also I'd like my contract sorted. But also I think, you know, the head of state in this respect, the manager, his calmness, his authority is cut across it all. He's always got to the point where he's enjoying the question. Every press conference is, come on, bring it, because you know what I'm going to say, and I'm going to tell you, we don't give a fuck.
But what I think's as important as that, and I think Rob is right in terms of how we've managed to sort of still get through it, and getting through it in part by winning is the best way to get through it. But the thing that brings about winning is, I think everyone's playing well. Again, coming out of that game against Madrid, allowing even for... Just allow them well, you know, not necessarily more than well, but allow for some of the footballers who are now out injured or might be on the way back. But before they were injured, I'm thinking about Shimikas and Trent. I'd say they were both playing well. I wouldn't say either was playing absolutely brilliantly, but they're both playing well. I think you're able to say Joe Gomez is playing well. You're able to obviously talk about a lot of that spine of starters and say they're playing well. You can say Gakpo's playing well, Nunes is playing well. Before you get to other players who are playing brilliant, Szoboszlai scores against Southampton. It's reasonable to say he's playing well. It's a good place to be in when you've got 16 or 17 who are playing well, and I think that also shows the strength of the management and the coaching.
Oh, you're right. I mean, even your question mark players, you don't have any question marks over right now.
No.
You know, Robbo has given away a couple of penalties in the last 2 games, plays ever so well the other night in the round, plays really well, and you know, that might be cause for concern, but he can come off and say, well, I got an assist as well, I got us 2-0, home and host.
Yeah.
And so, you can't have any real complaints. The thing that I think about that midfield in particular is, my God, you trust every one of them when the ball's punched into them. And that goes such a long way. It'll go such a long way on Sunday. That's why I think it'll be the same midfield again. It's because when the ball goes into those areas, so much of what football is focused on now is forcing a mistake, is getting teams to play into areas you want them to play into. Roper's open them, turning the ball over and punishing them, and we see it every week. You know, it's on every match of the day highlight reel. When Liverpool go into those areas, you just know the ball's not going to get turned over. You know they're keeping possession. You know that they're going to do something productive with it. You know that they might break a line. That for me, I mean, the Zubimendi thing now makes so much sense.
Yeah.
As in, like, no, he's the one. You know, we could do another 2 here.
Is he like Gravenberch and Jones? Because that's what...
I am not that versed, I've got to be honest, in anything other than the Premier League. But I would go, in terms of what they felt, it was him or nobody, is what I'm saying. It was him or nobody, and clearly, you know, Spanish international, very, very good technical footballer, you would imagine.
Gets rid of it really quickly, first touch, second touch.
Yeah. That head on a pivot type of mentality, constantly. And that, for me, they've got to keep adding to that, because they're the footballers they're going to need. You know, Wataru Endo, bless him, is doing a brilliant job when called upon.
Another one that you trust. But he's not going to start. You don't want from the outset, apart from maybe against Girona on the horizon.
I think he's changed the spec of a Liverpool midfield.
I completely agree.
Whatever, maybe obviously from the Klopp. The Klopp midfielders kind of needed the ball in front of them, I would say, and Fabinho being the leader of that. Drop, press, come at us, we'll tackle. They didn't really want to be legging back. You didn't really want to be playing it into feet to them, really. We wanted to be playing into feet to the full-backs and to the wide men, didn't we? That's how we attacked the club. But these boys, in physic, into feet, in the middle of the park with two on us, that's the best thing you can do to us. That's incredible. That reminds me, by the way, of Pep Guardiola Barcelona. First time I ever properly sat down and watched them, I think it was probably a European Cup semi-final or final against Man United, and I thought, they play it into feet when they've got two men on them. Who the fuck does that?
Well, do you know what it actually reminds me of? It reminds me of, and it might be because you just predominantly get to see the goals, but it actually reminds me of Souness here at Liverpool when he was playing. That Souness would have the ball played to in areas where no one else would, and he'd turn around and cut away with the ball off two touches and be pushing the other way.
Yeah.
You know,
they were very one-touch, that team. So it was one drop, one go.
Yeah.
The movement, you could trust the movement.
Players coming and going around the corner, and that's a really interesting thing.
More recent history, we fawned over Thiago's little drop of the shoulder, his little feint and his go the other way. Ryan Gravenberch's doing that as many times a game.
But with the pace and power
with the pace and power,
get away,
the mobility.
It's harder for that age, Thiago,
And like
Jones
you say,
is doing it.
Jones doing it, McAllister.
Dominic can
give him the ball anywhere, and so, you know, I'm really, I mean, just as a minor case study in all of this, I'm fascinated to see what happens with Dominic Szoboszlai's Liverpool career, because out of all of them, he's the one who is one of your question marks in terms of his profile. I'm not saying he's not a good player technically, he's a phenomenal player, but his profile is slightly different, and I just wonder, I thought he was a shoo-in come the start of the season for that role. I thought the manager looked like he liked him and fancied him. Now with Harvey coming back as well, I'm not that sure.
It'll be interesting to see more on that in a second. We are in Nova Scotia, we are with Erdinger. It is the Anfield Wrap 3 weeks. See you in a second or two. Subscribe to the Anfield Wrap. We've enjoyed doing this free week for you, and hopefully you've enjoyed the shows as well, but you can subscribe through a platform of your choice. There's through our app, but there's also through Patreon for audio and video. Video only on YouTube and audio only on Spotify. Whichever way you fancy coming and joining us, then please do consider doing so. Subscribe today. Enjoy the rest of the season with us.
And Erdinger, please.
Stop! Don't forget the best bit.
Welcome back in Nova Scotia with our friends at Erdinger. It is the Anfield Wrap ahead of a massive weekend against Manchester City. Dan doesn't think Szoboszlai's going to start. I think he's going to go with the same midfield against Man City. I think he will start Szoboszlai personally. What do you think?
Oh, I like this.
Two things. I agree with Dan that he won't, and I think he certainly will against Newcastle. But I don't think he's a problem player long term for us. I think he's a gift of football. I think he's he's just part of an array of talent we have in that midfield. We have five who are entirely interchangeable, and I'm including Harvey Elliott in this, who I think are almost entirely interchangeable. And you can fight me on the. I know I've argued this with you, Neil, that the McAllister's the best. I think Gravenberch's then shown, but he's the most undroppable. I think, in a certain sense, I think Szoboszlai, if you give him enough rhythm and he finds his confidence, could actually end up being easily the best of the five. But then again, so I think that also about Harvey Elliott. Oh, and by the way, at the moment, I think Curtis Jones is actually the best of the 5. So, wherever way you look, I think there's ways of them all being the best of the 5. I think it's an incredible selection.
What do you think he wants from a 10?
A 10? You see, I'm not sure we're playing a 10-10 at all.
This is my thing.
Right, I think we're playing a staggered little thing. We're definitely playing a 1 that sometimes is a 2 in a pivot. It's just, I don't know, it's difficult to get my head around. It's definitely not a 10 code. It's not a 10 in the sense of like Dalglish was a 10, Bergkamp was a 10. Like someone who literally drops behind the striker and plays cute 10-yard balls down the side and also pops up and gets the second most goals in the team. It's not that kind of a 10. It's an advanced state, but then it's sometimes, he isn't the most advanced state, whoever be the most advanced. Sometimes you've seen it when Szoboszlai's played with Jones. Szoboszlai can drop, and Jones is the guy facing up the defenders in the box, making the last pass. I don't know, what do you think? I just can't, it's a triangle, is what it is.
I've said this since pre-season, that it's not a 10.
No.
It's not a 10 in a 4-4-1-1 sense, like you would say.
No.
In that example.
That's why the manager said I'm not a 4-2-3-1 guy.
What I would say is if we didn't have Mo Salah, it'd be a 10. And I think his remit would be, I want 15 a season, goals and assists.
Yeah.
That would be his remit for that position. He would want Lampard.
Yeah.
20, 25. You know, he would want that.
That Dotu, or you said a Salah, then maybe, yeah. Do you know what I mean?
What? What do you think?
So I think you're right on. I think at the minute there's a bit of a compromise thing that he's got going on.
I think so.
With everything Salah brings him in every single sense. And then therefore what the lad who plays effectively, at least as a starting position, 15 yards to Salah's left. And he doesn't always do that, it's worth saying. First half against Man United, Szoboszlai flipped and went the other side, and we just sort of put up with it at Old Trafford. I think at the minute that is a part of the brief, is because Salah will offer all the Salahness. And I think that would change if Salah was to... I don't think Salah is going to move on, I think Salah will sign a new deal. But I think that when in Salah's absence, I think we will see something that's a bit more... Is it against West Ham where Salah doesn't start and he plays Jota off Nunez, and he actually puts Jota in as 10,
I think so,
and he plays a lad on the right hand side who's not Salah. I think I'm right in saying in the League Cup. And it's more 4-2-4. I just can't quite remember who it is, but it's more 4-2-4.
Chiesa, I think.
It might be Chiesa.
This season,
yeah. This season it might be more 4-2-4. So Jota plays as the 10 in that, theoretically. Does all the pressures that he wants, but isn't part of the midfield, because it's the way you see the footballer. And I think there might be more variation if there isn't Salah, or as this whole thing matures. I think we're going to find out what he wants when Elliott's fit. And that's when and what he wants game by game. Because I agree with Rob in terms of you pair any of the 3 from the 5 and you go, Jesus, these are good players and this is exciting. But I think we'll begin to see a little bit more of, okay, against this sort of opponent, he's looking for this sort of player and he's prepared to sacrifice these sorts of values. He's prepared to sacrifice something like 6'2" running power because he wants the guile for a game like this one, versus he's not as concerned about the guile. But I think that one thing he definitely wants, though, he definitely wants from Szoboszlai goals.
I agree.
And I think that's the thing that, and I think he'll have been delighted that he got one against Southampton. And I think that's really important. I think you can be the sort of number 10/number 8 Szoboszlai is, but I think you've got to be finding your way to 15. If you're playing in a team that's got all the quality of this one along with Salah, I think you've got to be finding your way to sticking the ball in the back of the net. And he's nearly done that to Szoboszlai. I keep saying, if Szoboszlai had 3 more, which does not take, you don't have to imagine beyond the realms of possibility how that happens, then right now we'd be looking at going, well, he's on course.
Wolves.
Yeah.
Diaz nicks one off him at United.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And there's the shot he doesn't have at United.
Yeah.
When he should really just put it in the back of the net at United, and there's been another couple in there where he's just been on the verge. And I think that, and that's to me where I think you can have your idea that you're going to have more of a battering ram runner in the position. But then I think when he is the runner, when he's crashing the box, he's got to crash the box into the back of the net.
Yeah.
And I think that's where he compromises then come. Because then the other thing he could do with the way it currently is, I'm talking a lot, sorry, is that it's easier currently to imagine than it ever has been how Elliott could step in for Salah for a couple of games here and there.
It is easy, yes.
No, it's easier. It's not I still wouldn't want it. I'd still always rather have Salah, because I still think Salah's pace, and you get to see it against Real Madrid, in that Mendy is theoretically quicker than Salah, and Mendy doesn't have a clue what the fucking hell is going on when Salah runs at him for the penalty. Like, Mendy is like, get me off this pitch, I can't cope with this. But I'm a bit like, you're faster than him, why are you making this look this hard?
Salah's learned to use explosiveness as a substitute. Do you know, I think the biggest question mark this manager has to solve momentarily. It's around his most valuable player, Trent Alexander-Arnold. I think that's the big quandary. I think It's no accident. The best and most dangerous football Liverpool play last season is when Conor Bradley's in that team, I think. H was the sort of, is it the January, February period, which reaches a sort of peak around crushing the Chelsea 4-0. I think Salah prefers a fullback that's going. It's this, especially this iteration of Salah, a fullback that goes outside him, because he's got the pace for him. I know Conor plays inside and outside and whatever, but he's got this ball of energy which does have pace and directness. A satellite, and orbiting around him. And I think Conor Bradley dovetails with Salah incredibly well. Trent, they do work together, and it has worked nicely at times. It looks aesthetically good when it works. But too often there's this idea that Trent's got to all drag this way into the middle of the park, and I just don't like it. My personal preference would be someone to go, Trent, can you just go back to being the best overlapping, widest, fantastic tackling right back in the world? It's not like you're fucking 32 and if you lost your pace and you need to do this. Can you just do that, please? When you get that position where you've got the option of the whip of the Beckham ball, or you can hit the touchline and cut one back. I thought he was doing that a little bit with Trent early season. It seemed to stop. I don't know whether it's player or manager or both.
We're going to see some of that on Sunday, aren't we? One way or another. You expect Trent to start?
It looks like Bradley's definitely out.
Yeah, I think Bradley's out. So do you think Trent starts in his absence?
I kind of think he's almost got no choice, because I don't think he'll trust Quansah at this stage.
Or Gomez?
Well, no, because I think Gomez. I think Kanate, although the mood music is that he's not bad, he might be bad enough to miss a game. I think he might just think, I don't know. That's the 50-50. Let's put it this way. Okay.
If Kanate's fit to start, wouldn't you just start at right back?
I'd have to have a proper think, because there's part of me that would say Gomez. Just because Trent's been out.
I think if he's well, the manager said he's fit enough to start, so I think he starts. And I think he said it so defiantly that I think he will start.
Yeah,
we have a habit of seeing these things as problems where they see them as bonuses.
Yeah.
They see them as additions.
I think the reason why he doesn't bring him on at the end against Madrid is he just wants the thing of the hugs on the pitch and all that sort of nonsense. Genuinely, I think he just thinks I can just avoid this for this fella there. I don't need to put that pressure on this point.
But there's a reason why there's a video going around of Ryan Gravenberch giving Jude Bellingham a shirt and not Trent.
Exactly that.
It's almost as if they've put a bag over his head and taken him to the changes and said, you're not coming out here. And
I think if that game is 0-0 at that point, or even something else, it might not be that Bradley goes off for Gomez. It might be that it is Trent. But I think because he felt it's 2-0, this is our home and hose, I can not worry about this. I don't need to worry about exposing him to this, and I think that works for him. Who do you think he starts up front at 9?
I would think he starts Nunes. I would have a good look at Diaz. I've said it before.
And Diaz left, Nunes up front, Diaz left.
Your question now, with this current situation, and with only having 4 of them fit particularly, is not who do you want to start, who do you want to come on? Which one of them do you want to come on in this game? And part of me would really love to get Nunes on 60-65 in this game.
I'd play Diaz central.
And I really like Diaz in the 9 in terms of how he screens. I think he's really, really clever at screening. They haven't got Rodri. I think they'll play Stones centre mid.
He's doubtful.
I think if he can get Stones on the pitch, he will play centre mid. But if he can get him on the pitch, he'll play centre mid.
I think he'll just plot him in front of the back two, the 2 centre halves, and say, you need to get us on the ball, you need to dictate, you need to hold this position in this shape. But I think it'd be easy to screen, and I think Diaz will screen him cleverly. So I think the question is, who do you want to come on? Because unless we're miles out of sight, and even if we're 2 goals to the good in this game come 60, you still want your best potential option to come on. I'd be tempted to start Gakpo, is what I'd say.
Gakpo Diaz.
I would, and I think and I think the manager's going to be 50-50 in his mind. But I agree. I think it's tight. A big part of him that would go, I would love to do Real Madrid same again, but then he'd stop himself and go, I don't want the same again, because there's the point where Gakpo comes on and the way we finish the game is really, really strong. So what is same again? I think, if I'm betting, I think I'd just about go 51-49 on Gakpo, Diaz, Salah. And I love him.
And you think Jones plays centre mid?
Yeah, unchanged midfield.
Okay.
And I think I'd back Dan's view that Trent does get the nod.
Okay, I think Trent gets the nod. I think if he starts Diaz, I think he'll start Szoboszlai. I think if he starts Nunez, it's likely he starts Jones. That is my instinct on those two, and I think Diaz starts no matter what.
So who misses out in midfield for Szoboszlai? McAllister?
Jones.
Oh, really?
So I think if he starts Diaz, he'll start Joe. He'll start Szoboszlai. I think if he starts Nunez, he'll start Jones, because I think he want the hard run and the ability to go and pin a centre back and absolutely just run past him.
Do you not think? I mean, I said on the show yesterday, I think you pick any midfielder as man of the match, and I plumped for Gravenberch, and then about an hour later, went, no, it was Jones.
I thought Jones was brilliant, but I think
and then the game of it was McAllister. But
I think another thing to point out is they've got these games coming up against Newcastle and whatever he does. So there's big moments on the horizon.
I know we're running long here, but
we are running long, and George absolutely haven't cared.
There's the small last point. There's the small matter of confidence, both in and out of selection.
Fair.
So I think you've got to factor that in, particularly with Nunez and Szoboszlai.
Yeah, no, that is all very fair indeed, very, very fair. Anyway, we are with Erdinger in Nova Scotia. It's the biggest weekend of our lives, and you know what? We didn't do ages on them. They're everywhere. I've talked about them everywhere, what they're going to do. It's all over the Anfield Wrap. Loads and loads and loads and loads of stuff about them. But the thing is, it's our gap, it's our game, it's our ground, it's our reality. Erdinger, Nova Scotia, up the Reds, because it all belongs to us.